Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And today's video, I'm continuing my series on ranking, counting down my 100 favorite albums of all time. I've been doing those quite a bit lately. I am now down to 60 through 51 on my list. On this list. So we're getting to the first half of the list here, completing that, and we're getting actually once we get to album 52, we're going to get to my 10 out of 10 albums. 52, 10 out of 10 albums. So we're getting to albums that I absolutely love and think are like perfect albums, pretty much. Or close enough that I'm going to give it a 10. Anyway, so yeah, I got some pretty cool stuff here. Got some great debut albums on the list here. And I got one album, I think it's going to be somewhat controversial. People are going to be like, what? How is this in your top 100? I stand by, it's a great album, and I'll get to here on my 100 favorite albums on Jason the Old Millennial. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well here on a Thursday night, a Thanksgiving night. So hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving dinner. I didn't have anything myself because I had Thanksgiving last Friday with my parents. At my parents' house, that was kind of my Thanksgiving. So I had the day off today, so I just was around the house chilling, basically watching YouTube videos, anyways, and getting this ready for this video. So yeah, I had a nice chill day. But hopefully everybody, if you're out there, you get to have the day off and have Thanksgiving. Hopefully you had a good one, spent time with family, ate some good food. Of course, all my friends in England don't know what we're talking about. Thanksgiving. Why did we do Thanksgiving? We did Thanksgiving because we left Europe. Our what do you call it? Our ancestors left Europe to seek religious freedom and came to the United States. And we're thankful for that, for being Americans, basically. Get to live in this country full of freedom and all that. So yeah. But anyways, getting past that, let's get to my next 10 albums on my top 100 favorite albums list. So coming in at number 60, this was actually higher on my last list. Still an album that's 9.5 out of 10. Still love this album. It's a fairly newer album on the list, and that is called Awake by Secondhand Serenade. You're thinking Awake. Josh Groban also has an album called Awake, but no, this is Secondhand Serenade. This came out in 2007. It's Secondhand Serenade. It's actually one guy pretty much named John Vesley. He's really more of a solo artist. I mean, he has a band with him, but it's interesting calling him Secondhand Serenade. Sounds like it's a band, like a group, but to me, it's really just almost like a solo artist that has kind of a name. So it's kind of weird that he didn't just use his name in it. But anyways, most might never heard of Secondhand Serenade. Don't know much about him. They're about John Vesley, and he's not a big artist. Doesn't have like a bunch of hit songs or hit albums or anything like that. And of course, he came, in the 2000s. So a lot of people don't pay attention to the 2000 music that are in the vinyl community and collect records and stuff. But yeah, I came aware of him because he had a hit song on the radio that's on this album. This is his debut album, and it's called Vulnerable. Vulnerable, if anybody was listening to the radio back in this time period, it was a hit song on the radio, and I loved that song. I thought it was a great song, and in fact, I'd say it's my favorite song on the album as well. Great song, and I remember hearing on the radio going, man, I love this guy's voice, and really enjoyed the song. I think I looked him up at the time, and I found like a couple more songs I really liked, and I think I looked up this album, and I listened to some of the songs, and thought, man, I'm really liking his music, and actually went and saw him in concert. Yeah, he came to Wichita, to kind of a smaller venue there in Wichita. Me and my younger sister likes some of his music too, so yeah, we both went and saw him in the kind of a small venue. But it was really cool. In fact, a friend of mine from high school was there too that I hadn't seen in a couple of years, and it was kind of cool getting to see him. I sat by him and his girlfriend, anyways, and as we watched it, it's funny because Secondhand Serenade was, of course, they were the marquee band or whatever, but there was like 4 bands that played before. I swear, I was like, I couldn't believe how many bands played before the second. I just wanted to see Secondhand Serenade, but I had to go through these 4 bands anyways, and then. Finally, like it was later at that night, finally it's like, all right, here's, just Secondhand Serenade. And man, he sounded amazing. Like he has an amazing voice, one of my favorite vocalists, I would say. And seeing him live was even better. Like I thought that was a really cool experience, getting to see him sing live because his voice just really filled out the space. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy can sing. Anyway, so I really liked him at that point. Really become a big fan of this album after that. And still to this day, I listened to it again today and still think it's a great album. Yeah, he's more of an acoustic guitar player, I would say, and some piano. In fact, if I remember right, at the concert, his brother played the piano, so his brother's in the band with him, basically. Um, but I remember really liking, yeah, the acoustic guitar playing, the piano playing, really good stuff. And then just the power of his voice. I mean, what really, if anything, I think you'll enjoy this. Anybody who listens to this album, I think you'll enjoy it just because the power of his voice. He has a very powerful voice, tenor voice, and sings with a lot of passion. You know, sings very loudly. Yeah, you really feel it, the emotions in his, his singing. And he deals a lot with breakups and stuff like that in this album. I would say, like Vulnerable. Yeah, like I said, great song. Love the acoustic guitar beginning of it, and great chorus there. Um, yeah, you definitely have to listen to that song if you haven't heard that. Vulnerable, definitely one you probably would like. But the other stuff is so good. And what's interesting is he kind of harmonizes with himself because there's a second voice in a lot of the album, a lot of the songs. I hear a second voice. I'm pretty sure that's him, like him, doubling, or I don't know what you call that, backtracking, whatever, and mixing in a second voice in there and kind of harmonizing with himself. And it sounds great, like him singing with himself. It's like a great duo, but it's just him on a lot of the songs, anyways. But like I said, man, he's great at starting a song kind of soft and then crescendoing into the chorus and singing very loud and and all that, and really getting a lot out of that. And you go, oh my gosh, I just love his voice. But anyways, but a lot of good stuff here. Half Alive was great. Let's see, I can't read my handwriting, but Maybe was a good song on here. I have the thing in front of me. Let's see. Your Call. Yeah, Your Call was great on here as well. And then I Hate the Song. It was really cool because it's almost kind of a meta song where he says, I hate this song because I wrote it about you. That's in the chorus of the song, which I think is kind of funny. It's like he's calling out his own song, like I hate this song because I wrote it about you. Now we're not together anymore, kind of thing. So kind of a cool idea for a song. I'm trying to think, is it in Your Call or something like that? He has this line in the chorus of "I was born to tell you that I love you" is in the chorus. So it's kind of you might say, kind of a hokey line, but I like it. It's a nice romantic line. Anyway, so yeah, it's great stuff. If you like more of the, folk rock style, I think he's really great anyways, in pop. But yeah, love it. Still stand by this great album if you haven't checked it out. Awake by Secondhand Serenade. All right, next song or album is another album that was pretty high on my last list. It gets a little bit lower here. And this is a debut album of Christina Perri, and this is called Lovestrong. Yeah, big album for her. And she had one huge hit, and that's the reason why she made this album called Jar of Hearts, which, again, this came out in 2011. So it's another fairly more recent album on my list. But I remember when this song came out, and it was huge on radio. I loved the song. It actually got his debut, I think, on Dancing with the Stars. She sang it on Dance with the Stars, and then it became a huge hit on the radio. And if you were listening to radio at that time, you would know the song because it was on the radio all the time. It's a very more dour song, about, a kind of a diss song of her ex, saying, who do you think you are, going around something scars, collecting your jar of hearts. So it's kind of this diss song, yeah, their ex, and breaking people's hearts, and so it's got a very, I don't know, very down, I don't know how to say it, kind of style to it, depressing style to it. I don't know if that's the right word, but a haunting style to it maybe, that I really loved. And I love her vocals, love the piano, love that chorus. It's really catchy. Definitely one that really, once you hear it, it kind of stays in your head kind of song. But anyways, I remember hearing that song on the radio, and I had no idea who Christina Perri is, and no relation to Katy Perry. I remember Katy Perry was huge too. So it's funny how you had this other person named Christina Perri, no relations, coming out with this song anyways. And so based on the hit of that song, she then got a record deal to make this album, her debut album. And it's interesting. I remember doing research on this last time I did I put this on my 100 favorite albums, and she basically, a lot of the songs are based off of breakups. So this whole album is almost like a breakup album. It's all full of different breakups too, which was interesting because when I was reading about her, and it's funny because she recorded at two different studios for some reason. And so she would record at one studio, and then she'd have to get in a car and go to another studio and record another song or something like that, which I can't remember exactly why she had to do it that way. But what's funny is that she says that each song was about, like, not every song, but like most every song was like about a different, ex-boyfriend or something like that. So when she's recording the song, she tried to get in the headspace of like remembering the ex. So it's funny how she's trying to, kind of remember each ex-boyfriend, depending on what song, I guess, and that would maybe, I don't know, enhance her performance or something like that. So, and she said she was, pretty, kind of sad at the end of these, because all she did was think about these, past loves in her life that, didn't work out, all these breakups. So she was actually quite kind of sad and depressed after making this album, because of the theme of the album, basically. But yeah, it's an amazing album. Christina Perri, don't know, man, she's a great singer, great piano player. I guess you can say pop singer. This is only one really, like, I think I listened to a couple of other albums, and they not nearly as good as this first one. And she didn't have another really big hit. She had like one other big hit, if I remember right. And I'm forgetting what it's called, but there was another song that was big on the radio as well later on. But besides that, I don't think she even does music anymore. I think I looked her up and she wasn't really making music anymore. But this is definitely a really great debut album for her. Jar of Hearts, of course, is great. Distance is an amazing song. Like, that would be, if it wasn't for Jar of Hearts, man, Distance would be my favorite song on this album. Another great vocal performance and chorus, I'll keep my distance. Like, oh, great melodies. Love her, the way she writes these songs. Again, like I said, I kind of like that it's all about kind of sad moments, because I like a sad song. So it's like, I kind of like these kind of songs that make you sad. I listen to a lot of that stuff. So maybe it's just an album that speaks to me pretty much. But anyway, Bluebird, opener, really great. How do I write a song? I forget, the first lyric is so good on the song. How the hell do I write a song about broken hearts or something like that? I don't know. It's a great line at the beginning. I'm forgetting, but really good one. Bluebird should have been, like, these all should have been big hits. I think they're really good. Arms is a great one about, when I'm in your arms, I'm at home, is the line in that song. The chorus is really nice. Penguin, which you're like, what's Penguin? I don't know why it's called Penguin, but it's a really cool song as well. And Sad Song is a really good song. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of good stuff here. If you like piano playing, strong vocalists, females, it's a great album. All right, 58 on my list. I'm going to a vinyl that I own. Only one I own, only album from this guy, but I really like this album. This is Lionel Richie's Can't Slow Down, his second album. And his biggest album, pretty much, came out in 1983, the year I was born. Yeah, huge album for him. Like I said, came out, 93. I have his other album, Lionel Richie's debut, is actually a good album too, but this is the only one I have in my top 100, and man, this is a great kind of soul pop album, R&B, I love Lionel Richie. He's such a great singer, got such a smooth voice. This has a couple of really big hits of his on this album as well, and there's only not a lot, I think there's only like 8 songs in the album, so there's not a lot of songs on here, but they pretty much all hit pretty good, and a couple of really great ones as well. He also writes the songs, so it's like, he's a great songwriter, one of the best, I think, singer-songwriters of the 80s period, who's saying mostly these pop songs, and he's really good at love songs. Like, I always say, like, Lionel Richie, like this album, like, man, if you're like if you have a girl at your house, it's like, turn the lights down low, put this album on, and you'll swoon her. It's that kind of album to me. It's like, it's a lovely album. Like I said, it has some big hits on it. My favorite is the closer, Hello, is my favorite Lionel Richie song, and it closes this album, which is awesome. But That's I'm always big with talking about the sneeze. So, um, but I love the hello. Is it me you're looking for? I can see it in your eyes. I can see it in your smile. Oh man, so wonderfully the vocal performance of that song, and just I just love the whole, oh man, he's seen this girl and he wants to, go out with her or something, and he's saying, you're looking for somebody? Are you looking for me? It's great. Love that song. It's so beautiful. But yeah, I got the opening or the second song that gets on the album is a big hit for him called All Night Long. Another just really great, smooth song. All night long, all night long. Love it. Just great vocal work and really cool song. Yeah, it's one of those songs, man, just chill to. Stuck on You is an amazing love song. Another one of my favorite Lionel Richie. I mean, like I said, these are 3 big hit songs for him on this album. So if you like Lionel Richie, this is the album to get because this got 3 of his big songs on it. But Stuck on You, oh my gosh, I'm stuck on you. I'm already there. Or something like that. I'm mighty glad you stayed. Just a great song about being in love, and not wanting to leave. Anyways, yeah, I love that. Penny Lover, I don't know if it's a big hit. I think that was a hit song for him as well. Another really good song on here, Penny Lover. But yeah, and pretty much every song is like a love song. I mean, it's a great love song album. Like, it's funny, Lovestrong by Christina Perri, great breakup song, great breakup album. Can't Slow Down, great love album. Anyways, but yeah, definitely check it out. Love me some Lionel Richie. I need to listen actually more of his music. I only know 2 of his albums really that I actually own. But all right, now number 57, we're going with The Swell Season by Glenn Hansard and Mercerda. Wait a minute, Glenn Hansard and Marketa Oglova is the name of the 2 artists. Yeah, it's a duo a group. Interesting, like this was their first album, and this is basically came out, I think maybe right before the movie came out, which is called Once. They both starred in, there's Glenn Hansard on the front, there's Marketa Oglova on the back. Glenn's from Ireland, Marketa's from the Czech Republic. Yeah, so they got put into a movie together called Once, which I have on Blu-ray. It's a great movie. Love that movie. Really good musical. And they wrote the music for it. And I think this came out around the same time or right before it. I don't know. So they also put an album together, and a lot of the songs on here, there's 10 songs on here. Most of them are songs that are in the movie Once, which is interesting. Like that, I also have the Once soundtrack, which is great. Like it's a good 1-2 punch of this and in the soundtrack. So yeah, it has some of their really good songs on here. But the songs sound a little bit different, so it must have been like it's a different take. It's not the exact same song as on the soundtrack. Because you listen to this and there's just a little bit different. So I can tell when I'm listening going, man, there's just a little, they changed a little bit this or that in the way they sang it. So that's kind of cool. You get like a different take on some of these songs. But man, I love this duo. They only made 2 albums, unfortunately. And then it's kind of an interesting story. Sorry, I'm going to sneeze again. But they only made 2 albums. They actually started dating after this first album, and then they broke up about the time they made the second album, and then they went their separate ways, unfortunately. But lately, they've been touring together, and they've been singing together, so I'm really hoping they make a 3rd album. I'm first in line to get that 3rd album, because I love their first 2 albums. Because I got this here at number 57, and their other album, their second album, I actually have much higher on my list. I love their second album even more. But yeah, I love their voices. Glenn Hansard plays acoustic guitar. Marketa plays the piano. And their voices just mesh so well together. I love a good duet. And it's a great duo, singers and songwriters. And yeah, it's definitely another like indie, like folk type music. And I really love the style of music that they sing. They can sing some more ballad types and some upbeat stuff, but of course, the big song on here is Falling Slowly. Falling Slowly was the song for the movie Once. It ended up winning the Oscar for Best Song at the Academy that year. Yeah, and I love that song. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. I mean, it's one of my favorite movie songs that won an Oscar. It is so amazing. The acoustic guitar picking at the beginning with the piano playing, and just again how they start kind of soft with falling slowly, eyes that know me, and I can't go back. Like, love the melody and the voices. I think he sings first, and then she comes in on the second part. I love it. And then you get to that chorus, and it just swells up into this big chorus, uh, and they hit these incredible high notes, especially Glenn. He's so good at hitting these high notes and singing loud. Like, he has a powerful high note voice that is one of the best I've ever heard. When he's like, take this sinking boat and point it home. We got time. Of course, I can't hit the note, but he hits his incredible high note. Oh, I love that. When they hit that note in the song, I'm like, oh my God. When the first time I heard the song, I was like, holy cow, this is an awesome song. Like, I couldn't believe how amazing he sings it. And Marquetta with him is great. Anyways, but yeah, Floating Slowly. Yeah, if you haven't heard that song, you got to hear the song. It's one of the greatest songs of all time. Love it. A lot of great stuff here, like "When Your Mind's Made Up" is a big song on the movie as well. "Sleeping" is great. "Lies." Again, about your kind of ex, because in the movie it's basically him. He has an ex-girlfriend. He kind of falls in love with this girl, and so he sings, but he's singing songs about his ex-girlfriend. So that's "Lies" is a good one. You're always telling lies in the song. And then Leave is amazing. It's another absolute incredible vocal performance from Glenn Hansard, where he starts very soft during the song, and it's kind of, again, telling this girl, leave, you might as well just leave, And then he gets towards the end, all of a sudden he crescendos, and he's like singing very loud. It's like almost screaming, but yet he's on pitch. It's amazing. Like, I don't know how, I don't think I've ever heard anybody sing as good as he is when it comes to singing very loudly and passionately. I mean, it's amazing. Anyways, absolutely love his voice and the songwriting. Anyways, but yeah, great album, the Swell season. And in 56, I'm going to go to one of my favorite artists on one of my favorite albums of this. I think I've mentioned one album so far. So the second album of his I've mentioned, and this is Flaming Pie by Paul McCartney. Yeah, so this is, I guess, my fifth favorite album or so, or fourth favorite album. I forget how many albums I got on the list, but I already talked about Ram, and now I'm talking about this one. Yeah, this came out in 1997, so when I was like in junior high, and I always thought it was his 10th album overall. I always thought it was, man, I remember the time thinking, wow, Paul McCartney's old, and he's coming out with another album. And boy, I knew nothing then, because he would come out with a bunch more albums. He even came out with an album, when he was like 80, and he might have only been like in his 50s at this point. I don't know. And I always thought like wow, this is like almost like a comeback album, but I guess it really wasn't. But I remember the time being like, because I don't know how long it was before he made his last album, but I think I don't know if I followed his 90s work that closely at the time. So when this came out, I thought, wow, like it's like, wow, I can't believe he's coming out with another album. Anyways, and so I was excited, and I remember, I think my sister bought this album, and I borrowed it from her, and man, I fell in love with it as soon as I heard it. I was like, wow, this is incredible, Paul McCartney. He's getting a little bit older, but his voice is still pretty darn good. He's still, because when he gets a little bit older, his voice starts deteriorating just a little bit, but still not sounding terrible. But at this point, still sounding really good. But yeah, in fact, me and Adam from What the Gym, we did a review of this album on his channel. We both give it high scores. Like I said, I'm giving it like a 9.5 out of 10. Almost a perfect album for me of his. But yeah, my favorite song on here and my favorite Paul McCartney song of all time is Calico Skies. Love that song. It's such a beautiful song, a great love song. Love the guitar playing. What really kills me, or what really gets me on the song, is the guitar playing. The acoustic guitar, when he uses like a little slide, whatever, and the picking is beautiful. I mean, it's like Blackbird, it's that beautiful style of playing that I'm like, oh, I love when Paul McCartney does that, like with Blackbird or Yesterday. He is so good at these guitar kind of picks that go throughout the whole song, but I love the guitar playing so much. And then just that chorus, I will love you for as long as you like, I will love you for the rest of my life. Oh, so great. It's just a really beautiful love song. Greatly written, arranged, sung by Paul McCartney. Love the song, anyways. But Countless Guys. But Little Willow is another great song I hear. Kind of singing about like a tree that's bending in the wind and saying stand up strong, like kind of almost an encouraging song to somebody, saying like hard times are going to hit you, but keep going kind of song. So it's kind of beautiful in that sense. Um, you got the song we were singing, the opening song. Oh, so good. I remember first time opening or listening to this album. It starts with the song we were singing, which is a great acoustic song. And I just love the chorus because it kind of stops and then he goes, and it goes back to the song we were singing at any particular time. Anyways, again, it's like multiple, it sounds like multiple acoustic guitars playing. It's very good. More of a strumming song, but man, love that. Just a great opener. Flaming Pie, the titled song, is a really fun song, and I love that the song's called the album called Flaming Pie, and you see a little flaming pie here, which is kind of fun. If you don't know the story behind it, but it's the John Lennon back in the day when they asked him, he came up with the idea of the Beatles. The name of the band would be the Beatles, and he did an interview or something. And he wrote like a whole thing about how he came up with the Beatles name, which I think is probably just John trolling everybody. But his reason why he came up with the Beatles is that he had a dream, and there was a man on a flaming pie. Yeah, a man standing on a flaming pie who told him that the band would be called the Beatles. Anyway, so it's kind of a ridiculous story that John gave at the time. And so I love that that Paul calls this flaming pie. It's a very good deep cut if you're a Beatles fan that you get. We're like, oh, he's referring to John's dream about the guy on the flaming pie. And so it's just a fun, kind of nonsensical song that I actually really enjoy on the album as well. But yeah, a lot of great stuff here. Beautiful Night, oh, another really beautiful song. Great chorus. But Some Days is great. Young Boy, Heaven on a Sunday. It's an absolutely beautiful album. Mostly acoustic, I would say. More of an acoustic guitar type album. More of a folk style album that I really enjoy from Paul McCartney. So there's Flaming Pie, number 56 on my list. Number 55, I don't have this album. Would love to get it. And that is The Cars by The Cars. So this is The Cars' debut album that came out in 1978. And I kind of discovered this album a couple of years ago, I want to say, from Rich Strickler and some people from his group. Rich Strickler talked about this album, and I don't know who else was on the group on that video, but I remember thinking, The Cars, like I've heard of that name, but I don't know what their music is. I thought maybe I know their music, but I can't think of it on top of my mind. And then when I looked up their music, and I realized, oh my gosh, like I know all these songs. They're like radio hits. I just didn't know it was Cars. I guess I didn't pay enough attention to who the Cars were when I was listening to the music. But I mean, there's legitimately like 5 hit songs on this album that were on the radio, which is absolutely insane. So this debut album is almost basically a greatest hits album, it feels like. Because like I said, there's at least 5 songs on here that are going to be like on a greatest hits compilation album. They're that good. And yeah, I really love this album. I already had this is the second album I've gotten on the list. The other one, Heartbeat City, another great album by them. But it's hard not to put this ahead of them a little bit just because of how many great songs are on here. And it's crazy. It's a great debut album too. And this is like the greatest of the new wave era. Like the Police, I had Police Synchronicity on the list. And this is like new wave music at its best. Like it's a little quirky, it's a little different, but it's also very catchy. I actually really enjoy and there's a lot of synthesizer used here, and I love the use of the synthesizer. The 2 lead singers, Rick Ocasek and Benjamin Orr, are really great on the album. But yeah, I mean, you start with Good Times Roll, my favorite song on the album. I just love that beginning guitar synth part, let the good times roll. I love that. Let the good times roll. It's such a fun song to begin it. My Best Friend's Girl, another super catchy song. Just What I Needed. I mean, incredible. You're just what I needed, just what I needed. I think is that You've All I Got Tonight. Again, love that intro. The dan 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 dan. Like, I love how they hit those those guitar notes, those fast downbeats. It's so great. But that's another one where I love the guitar playing and really catchy chorus. Bye Bye Love, not the old version. It's a new wave song. I'm trying to think who's there's another Bye Bye Love by old band, but old brother duo. I'm forgetting. But anyways, Bye Bye Love, another super catchy song. And there's also a song called Moving in Stereo, which is actually pretty popular. Mostly it got popular, I believe, in a movie called Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It was played during a certain scene, which if you're a guy, you probably know what scene I'm talking about. But yeah, it's big on that as well. But yeah, Cars, great new wave. And I'm beginning to really like new wave music. I didn't really, if I knew what new wave music was, till the last couple of years. I've been listening to more other bands like The Police and Cars. And I'm like, okay, I'm really enjoying what I'm hearing here anyway. So yeah, the Cars definitely got an album you gotta listen to. Really great stuff here at number 55. All right, number 54. I'm gonna take a drink of water here. All right. At number 54, we got my favorite Genesis album, and that is Invisible Touch, which I don't have at the moment. Another album I need to get at some point. This came out in 1986. This is their 13th album out of like 15 albums. So they're getting towards the end of Genesis, basically. And they're putting out their best stuff, which is absolutely incredible that they put out. And like I said this when I talked about Phil Collins, because I talked a lot about Phil Collins in the last video, actually. I mentioned their other album I really like, We Can't Dance, plus 2 Phil Collins solo albums. But it was insane that Phil Collins is putting out some incredible solo stuff, and then he puts out Invisible Touch, which Invisible Touch almost feels like a Phil Collins solo album. I mean, these are songs that you could... In fact, when I first heard... this is the first Genesis album I ever heard, because my friends like Briar, Nick, and Scott are big Genesis fans, and they kept talking about him, and I was like, I really don't know Genesis. I've heard the name, but I never heard an album. Don't know if I know any songs from them or anything. And so we were doing reviews on Scott's channel, SoundLab Studios, and they wanted to do a Genesis album and introduce me to Genesis. And they decided that Invisible Touch would be the best album to kind of introduce me to the band. So like, okay, cool. I was excited to listen to Genesis finally and see what's the big hype on Genesis. And yeah, I thought the album was incredible. Sorry, I had to stop the video because my iPhone storage was getting low, and so I had to update my phone anyways. But I'm back talking about Invisible Touch by Genesis. I think coming over what I was talking about before was that, yeah, I first heard this album with a group, and yeah, I loved the album. It was like, wow, like, especially because I knew like at least 3 of these songs were like radio hits. I think I was saying, this could have been like on a Phil Collins album because he was doing solo work at this time. So when I heard this album, I was like, oh, this sounds like a Phil Collins like solo album. Like, that's why I think I love these last 2 Genesis, or 2 of the last 3 Genesis albums I really love and are on my top 100 list, because Phil Collins was just cooking at this moment. I mean, like I said, I have his I have 3 of his solo albums on my list that all came out in the 80s period, I believe, and then 2 of his 80s albums with Genesis. So, I mean, to me, Collins was the GOAT of like the 80s period anyways for me. But yeah, this album, I mean, you start with Invisible Touch. Incredibly, these are all just very catchy pop songs, I would say, kind of rock pop songs. But man, that chorus, she's got an invisible touch, yeah. Man, it's great vocal work, just a really catchy song. Tonight, 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 it's a little long, but I do love that chorus. Tonight, 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 whoa. Great stuff there. Land of Confusion. Oh my gosh, that song is so good. I love the kind of the percussion in the back, all the different percussions they're using, instruments or whatever. Really cool background sound. But again, just great vocal work by Phil. Just love that chorus of we're in the land of confusion and not enough of love to go around. There's too many places, there's too many people, too many problems, and not enough, or something like that. I don't know. It's, oh my gosh, it's so catchy. One of my favorite Genesis songs of all time. And these are all like in my top 10 Genesis songs of all time. I mean, and this was their biggest album. This was their biggest selling album, I believe. They had like I forget, it had a bunch of, like, it had 5 or 6 singles come out this album that all did well. It's crazy how good this album was, and definitely should be talked about more for Genesis, and definitely one you need to, I would say if you want to listen to Genesis, I would say, yeah, definitely listen to this album. The early stuff with Peter Gabriel, it's a little too prog rock for me, a little too weird. And then when Phil Collins takes over, it kind of gets a little bit better, where it's a little more commercial sounding songs that you hear on the radio. But my favorite song on the album is In Too Deep, one of the all-time great ballads that they did, and Phil Collins does so well, of course. That's why I love Phil Collins, but it's another big radio hit for him. But man, I just love that. I know I love you, but I just can't take this. I know I love you, but I'm in too deep. Oh my, are playing for keeps. Oh my gosh, just a beautiful melody. And Collins just absolutely killing it on vocals on that one. And just one that really gets in my head all the time when I hear it. I just keep singing that chorus. Awesome song. Throwing It All Away is also a really good song. That not a hit song for them, but also really good. But yeah, overall, amazing album. Invisible Touch here at number 54 on my list. All right, number 53, we're going to go with some good classic rock music by one of my favorite bands. And that is, whoop, I got upside down here. And that is Led Zeppelin II by Led Zeppelin here at number 53 on my list. Their second album, of course, and this is also my second favorite album from them. I got one more that's higher on my list. It came out in 1969, right at the end of the 60s. And man, this has some of their biggest hits on it. And this is another one where, man, you got, let's see, like, yeah, 5 big radio hits. I mean, there are 5 songs on here that could be on a greatest hits album. That's how good this album is. But yeah, what can you say? I've talked about Led Zeppelin before. Love Jimmy Page's guitar playing, one of my favorite guitar players of all time. His rock riffs are just absolutely amazing on this album, and some good guitar soloing as well. Drumming is just amazing. Of course, John Bonham, one of the greatest drummers. And then Plant's voice. Love his vocals on a lot of this stuff. But compared to the first album was a little too more bluesy, a little slower, bluesier type album. This is definitely more faster paced, and it's not bluesy really. It's more just a fast-paced hard rock album, and it's one of my favorite of this type. I mean, you open with my favorite song on the album. My second favorite Led Zeppelin song of all time. That's "Whole Lot of Love." One of the best openers of any album I've ever heard. I mean, I absolutely love this opener because you hit him right away with one of the greatest rock riffs, and it's so heavy. And when it gets in there, man, it's like, oh my gosh, because you play it loud, and man. Just love the sound of the guitar and that riff that goes throughout the album, that song. And you need cooling, and Plant's great vocals. Give me more love, and then the drums. Also the drums kick in. Oh my gosh, so great. It has a kind of weird middle part, but then it gets right into the rock riff and goes right into it. So I still love it for that. But anyways, a whole lot of love that song. What Is and What Should Never Be. Great, like, song that kind of starts very soft, but then during the chorus it kicks in and it gets louder and heavier, and then goes back into the soft stuff. Again, just great, amazing instrumentation work on that song. Heartbreaker. Love the guitar playing on this. One of the great. I love that guitar solo where it's like an a cappella guitar solo where all the other instruments cut out and you just get. It just sounds like Jimmy Page is improvising there. He's just bam 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 and he does those like really fast paced guitar licks on there. Oh, it's so awesome. And then it gets right back into the main part of the song. Love it. Living Loving May, She's Just a Woman, another big hit for them. Just another great rock riff with a great chorus. Yeah, love that song. And then Ramble On, sing your song. So good. Another just incredible rock music on this album. Led Zeppelin II, that's why it has to be up here. 53 on my list. All right. Last 2 albums are our Fleetwood Mac albums. Yeah, I'm ending this list with 2 Fleetwood Mac albums. And number 52 is going to be the most controversial album on my list. And it's the first album on my list. I'm giving a 10 out of 10 out of it. All these albums now are 10 out of 10 albums. These are, to me, absolutely amazing albums. And number 52 is called Time. From Fleetwood Mac, came out in 1995. This is towards the end. This is like their second to last album, the 16th studio album. I mean, they made a lot of albums, all dating back to, I think, the 70s or something like that. Now we're getting to 95. And yeah, the band definitely is changing a lot. A lot of key members have left the group at this time. So this is controversial because most people I've heard talk about Fleetwood Mac, this is like their least favorite album of Fleetwood Mac. Like my friend Nick, who's a big Fleetwood Mac fan, I think he says this is his least favorite album. He gives us a 1 out of 10. I give it a 10 out of 10. My friend gives it a 1 out of 10. I mean, so this is an album where it's just like, I don't understand why people don't like this album. It's like, this happens every once in a while with movies. This happens with me where I love a movie and everybody else hates it. I'm like, how can you hate this movie? It's so good. And I can tell you all the good parts of it. And the same thing with this album. I'm like, this album is so good. How come people hate this album? But I feel like most people hate this album. So it's one of those weird occurrences where I just disagree with the majority of people. Like, because a lot of the albums that are on my list are albums that are very well loved and are, highly placed on other lists. This is the only time where I'm like, everybody hates this album, but I love it, which is just crazy. Like I said, this is getting towards an interesting period of the band. Some key members have left since Steve Nicks and Buckingham joined the group. They kind of formed this really great pop period with Rumors and Fleetwood Mac and Tusk and Mirage, Tango in the Night. I mean, they're putting out some amazing albums. Then we get to Time, and in fact, the album before this, Behind the Mask, Buckingham left the group at that point, and that's not a very good album. I thought Behind the Mask, the 15th album, was really not very good. One of my least favorite albums from them. And then you get to this album, and Stevie Nicks leaves the band by the time you get to this album. So two key members to me of the band, Nicks and Buckingham, that make the band so good, leave the group. So you're just thinking, oh, this can't be a good album. I mean, you don't have Nicks, you don't have Buckingham. How could this be a good album? I thought that too, but this, I don't know, it surprised me. It blew me away. It was way better than I ever expected to be, especially since everybody else was telling me this was a horrible album. And I listened going, why do people think this is a horrible album? Like, it's a really good pop album. And if you like Fleetwood Mac, I don't know how you can't like this album. It has really good Fleetwood Mac pop style songs in it that still work, even without two key members. They actually end up bringing on this girl that take over like Nicks's part, and she's, I think, has a country music background. I think her name's Becca Bramlett. So they bring her on. This is the only album she's on because she leaves the group before the last album, but she's on one album, and I thought she was actually quite good. Like, Stevie Nicks is my favorite member of the band. Like, I love her singing. She has an amazing voice. So you would think, leaving my favorite member of the band, I wouldn't like this album, but I thought Becca did a good job. I thought she had a good voice. She has a couple of really good songs on here. So not as good as Nick's, but still pretty darn good. They had another guitar player join in, and I didn't look up his name. That kind of took over the Buckingham part. I don't like him nearly enough as Buckingham, but still he actually doesn't do a bad job on this album either. And the guitar playing is actually still quite good on this album. I still thought it was a really good rock album. Like, there's some really good rock stuff on here and some great pop music as well. The good news is you got Christine McVie coming back for this album. This is the last album she'll be on. She's not on the last album, Say You Will, or something like that. So this is the last time we hear Christine McVie. But to me, she's up to her game on this album, because, like, okay, Nicks and Buckingham aren't here, and I'm going to carry the group kind of thing. And so she does. She has like 5 songs on this album. All 5 are really good, and her vocals are great. They're really good pop songs. So I'm like, Christine McVie's still killing it. So it's like, how can you not like this album when you still got Christine McVie giving you great music? So I don't get how you can't like this album. But anyways, going through the album, like I said, McVie does a really great job, especially with I Do, All Over Again. Really great pop stuff from McVie. But I also like her Hollywood, Nights in a Story, and Sooner or Later. All 5 songs, I think, are just top-notch, Kristen McVie, Fleetwood Mac songs. I think they're all really good. She hasn't lost anything, even without the other members. Like I said, I do like the new Becca, the female singer, comes in. I like Winds of Change. I thought was really good on here. I thought the opening song, Talking to My Heart, I thought was a really good rock song to open up the album. I thought very catchy, kind of a duet, I think, between Becca and the guitar player. Works really well. But the song that really makes this a 10 out of 10 album for me is Dreamin' the Dream. Oh my gosh, this is such a beautiful ballad from Becca Bramlett. Like I said, I think it's a song she wrote before the band, and then she brought it to the band when she got when Mick Fleetwood invited her to the band to do this album. And man, it's my favorite song on the album. It's actually one of my favorite Fleetwood Mac songs. It's in my top 10 favorite songs from them. I think it's so good. And why I give it a 10 out of 10, because I absolutely love the song. It's a acoustic guitar like picking and a piano playing, and just a beautiful melody. I think beautifully sung by Becca, I believe, singing that here. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I love good ballads, and this is a great ballad to really top off this album. So yeah, I'm still standing by what I'm saying. Time, it's a 10 out of 10 album for me. It's number 52 on my list. And I just discovered this album recently. So this is a kind of a new discovery for me. But I mean, I'm giving a lot of 10 out of 10s out of, or 9.5s out of Fleetwood Mac albums. So I've recently become a big Fleetwood Mac fan. I mean, of this period, this era of theirs. Anyways, because 51 is another Fleetwood Mac album that I recently discovered. And that's Tango in the Night here at number 51, the last on the list. Came out in 1987. This was just 2 albums before, actually, Time. This is their 14th album. Anyways, by Fleetwood Mac. It's the last album with the Buckingham and Nicks and McVie kind of setup. Because, like I said, the next album, Buckingham would leave, and then Nicks would leave, and then the very last album, McVie leaves. So each member kind of, we don't see all of them 3 together, unfortunately. Which is what I love about the band, is it's 3 singer-songwriters that are great singers, great songwriters, plus Buckingham is a great guitar player. So really great, those 3, plus, of course, John McVie and Fleetwood Mac and all that. But anyways, yeah, Tango Night, we actually just did this review not too long ago, I believe on, I might be on Nick's channel, Townsend 505, I think. We've been going through all Fleetwood Mac albums. And so this was a fairly recent one that we went through, and to be honest, it wasn't a 10 out of 10 album the first time I listened to it. The first time I listened to it, I thought it was just a mediocre album. But then I gave it a couple more listens, and I finally go, you know what? I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's another great Fleetwood Mac album. Like all these Fleetwood Mac albums since Buckingham and Nicks joined, I absolutely love. All the albums before I hated. I didn't like Fleetwood Mac at all until Buckingham Nicks joined. And then those two just made it, the band, just changed the band to this great pop rock band that really works. Anyways, but yeah, Tango Night, the big song in here, my favorite song on the album is Little Lies. Big radio hit here. Great song. I think McVie sings this one, but tell me lies, tell me those little lies. Tell me lies. Super catchy chorus. Love the intro. Intro is so good with the piano, whatever. And then the drums, toot, 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 and then it goes right into the verse. But beautiful song. So my Christine McVie, love it. Seven Wonders, great song by Nicks. Really beautiful, really amazing vocal work there. Everywhere, another beautiful song by McVie. Love that one. Caroline, I actually really love the song from Buckingham. It's one Buckingham song I really like on the album. I think everybody else in my group didn't like the song. I was like the only one that loved the song. I was like, it was in my top 5 of the album. I was like, yeah, it's a really cool rock song with some good drumming. I love the drumming on it. Caroline, do. It's like, love the drum fills on it. Mystified, another great song. I think this was a Christine McVie song. Another really great song from her. And then my second favorite song on the album is When I See You Again, by Stevie Nicks. Stevie Nicks again, great ballad from her. So I love a good ballad. Love Stevie Nicks' voice. Another really great song off here. But yeah, this is another album where I'm like, there's only like one song I didn't like on the album. And that was the very first song. Besides that, everything else just really worked on the album for me. Same thing with Time. I didn't mention Time. I liked every song except for the very last song that Mick Fleetwood would do. Mick Fleetwood has this really stupid song at the end, which is just him doing his thing, and nobody else was on that song except for him and I think maybe John McVie. And it's a stupid song, but I still give the album 10 out of 10 because I love everything else. But it's kind of the same way with Tango Night. There's like one song I don't like. It's the opening song. But everything else is great, so I still give it 10 out of 10. Even if you have one bad song, it won't kill an album for me to give the 10 out of 10. If you have a lot of other great stuff on the album, it can overcome the bad song. So that's how it is in this one as well. So yeah, Yeah, 2 Fleetwood Mac albums, 2 10 out of 10s right in a row here on my list to end my list of my first 50 albums on the list anyway. So I've gone through 100 through 51 now on my list, and hopefully we'll get more done here before the end of the year. We'll see. I'm trying to keep up with my friends. Nick from Townsend 505, Scott from SoundLab Studios are doing their top 100s. They're both in their like top 50 already, so I'm getting behind them. So I'm trying to catch up. So I got to keep doing these videos on these 100 favorite albums anyway. So anyway, besides that, please comment what do you think about these 10 albums. Some you never heard of, you want to check out. Other ones you know that you love. Love to hear those comments. Anyways, and besides that, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for liking it. To all my subscribers, thank you for your support. And have a great Thanksgiving. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving.